fun.
I'll turn the audio on now. But
Oh,
people
okay.
people are here for the pre-ramble now. All right. I forgot that this is why I don't normally go live until we're actually set. Is because I need to do
Right.
Sam's cam every single time. Because it changes every single time. Because it's web browser based.
Oop. I'm in there somewhere. It's half me, half not me.
Boop.
I think we should do a Sinister and Enchantress product comparison.
You want to do it together?
Tonight. Yeah, we do it together.
Did you watch Danger Room's tier list 4? They put Enchantress at a B tier, but Sinister at a C.
Oof! Wow.
And
I feel like they're more cars in the same class.
Yeah. I was like, oh.
Front loaded, back loaded.
All right. So
like
that is good. We put this
blown up
slightly down here. That's not good. I actually have the notepad up this time to take timestamps. If I remember to do them or not is another question. Oh, that means I need to have this over here so I can actually see the timestamp. Oh, Sam, you're bigger now.
Oop.
Oh, no, you're fine. It is on my end.
I am bigger, though.
Yeah, that one segment that we're going to do is going to totally mess up your camera.
Nice. Now I have a bog tiger coming out of my head.
Isn't that what everybody wants?
Hello. Hello, bog tiger.
Okay. Boom. Perfect. Oh, wait.
Nearly perfect. There we go.
Oh, now my buttons aren't working.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. I might have to... What did you do?
Nothing. That showed up.
Oh, my... Oh, there it goes. Okay.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Totally messes up your screen.
Oh, no, that's not bad. I mean, if it goes back.
Yeah, it'll go back, I think.
That's fine.
Perfectly balanced.
I'll just end it with that.
As all things should be.
Perfect.
All right. Everybody who's been paying attention to the pre-ramble.
We got some tech for you tonight.
All right. It's easy peasy, right?
Wait, I mean technology, not like MCP tech.
We have MCP tech, kind of. We just don't tech. Tech cancellation. All right, we should be good. Are you good? I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, and then my notepad. Where'd my notepad go? There it is.
Oh yeah, need that.
Come on. I'm probably gonna miss them. I was gonna do them on the. God, I have so many things open. This is annoying. Okay, that should be fine. That should be fine. Oh, I need the matrix too. Don't forget your matrix.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, grabbing the matrix now.
Okay, I don't need to worry about this button anymore.
Man, I saw you sent the link over at like 13:02 or something, and I was like, I'll be there as soon as I can. Like, so far in advance.
I know, I did it real early. I was like, I'm ready to go. Man, I've had a super busy day. We can't be on time.
Man.
This is part of the show. We've been organizing and cleaning and all that. So
I went to a kid's birthday party, so it like.
Oh, that sounds exciting. Okay.
It was. I mean, we'll say that.
All right, let's get the show on the road. Oh,
right.
Where'd my thing go? Button. And then record.
Perfectly balanced. As all things should be.
Maximum effort. In this war, there's no surrender. He's out of line, but he's right. Who the hell is Bucky? You don't like a fair fight. I think you're wrong. Which part? All of it.
Think you're the only superhero in the world?
Touche.
All right, here we are for the people who were hanging out with us in the pre-ramble. I call it pre-ramble, even though it's actually preamble. For us, it's the pre-ramble though, because it's the pre-ramble before the ramble. So you know how it goes. All right. So thank you all for joining us again, Rogue Agents, Marvel Cross's Protocol podcast, hosted by Dizzard, Finger Guns, and someone who is not here. I gotta give him crap every time I can. He has
sorely missed.
Yeah,
once again.
some life things going on, so we'll just leave it at that. Again, I'm just gonna reiterate something because I don't normally do our full intro, ever. Our goal
Fair
is,
enough.
Our goal and focus of the podcast is to provide you with competitive conversations with the mindset of anything can be competitive, anything. Our slogan is innovation is key. So let's get into today's episode. We'll go ahead and start off with our announcements. As always, thanks to patrons Big Blake, Brad, B Terra Game, Gronko, It's Just Rory, Clismo, Tim, Neek, J Rowe, Ronald the Accuser, Running Around, Sure Fox, Sure Thing, Nathan. I forgot to update this. I'm like totally like thrown off. Like what I'm saying.
My favorite patron. Cool cards for Winterguard.
Yeah. I
that guy always comes through.
There was another one though too, and that's what's throwing me off is I forgot to add in the new guy. Poor guy.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, the new guy.
God, who was it? Joe? I think it's Joe. Let's just go with Joe. Joe, the new patron. Also,
thanks,
Ronald
Joe, the new patron.
Ronald the McDonald, you are here as well. Again, don't forget to use the tournament shoutout channel to advertise your local scene, and let's jump right into it. Who won the Pagani's challenge? So we had a lot more people put stuff in, so that was really, really good. And I don't know, did you pick one? Did you pick one? Because I picked one.
I voted on 2 of them.
Me too.
But only one of them got the official Punisher stamp of approval.
Same with me. Do we just say ours at the same time and see what it is? Okay.
Sure. 3,
okay, 1, 2, 3.
1.
It's just Rory.
Gronko's second one. Oh, all right.
That's your other one.
Mine was my Gronko's second roster was my first pick.
I think I missed that one because it was so far up here. Let me see. Oof. Nope, I don't like it. So I'm gonna go over mine with Rory just because. So for those of you who didn't know. This is the list that Pagani said. He said everybody build a blade list focusing on bleed.
Yeah.
And I picked Rory because I like the inclusion of Kraven here. Because Kraven using the Midnight Suns bump and
fair, yeah.
Like his mobility really kind of helps out Midnight Suns in a place I think they're kind of slacking. I just like the list of characters. He's taking Bleed, Sabretooth, Venom, Wong, Moon Knight, Task, Winter Soldier, Scourge, Bullseye, and Kraven. I just really liked it. He said Sabretooth and Kraven are there to stack on the already busted up bleeding enemies and add mobility for chasing extract holders, which could be an issue for Midnight Suns. So I liked his list a lot. What about you?
I like Gronko's list because I like the just spreading bleed and poison around. Yeah. Seemed pretty neat. And he had a specific combination of characters that made me very happy with
that's fair.
Baron Zemo and Scourge and Strucker.
I was trying to avoid the ones that were like taking Hydra because I like to look at the ones that are taking characters that are out or just about to be out. Because Gronko was taking Strucker and all that stuff, so I said no Gronko.
That's fair. I wanted Zemo, Drax, and Scourge in a roster, so that's why I submitted a roster. Because I was looking at these and I was like, if any of these rosters have like those 3 characters, I'm going to pick that one, and none of them did.
All right. So who wins? I don't know. Do both of them win? They win nothing?
I think they both win the right to have their roster in the pool of rosters that would be selected when we finally decide what to actually do with these.
Fair enough. All right. Also, people, please don't forget, go ahead and start doing community reacts to lists, which ones you think are better, and we're going to start taking that into consideration. This was the one the community voted on. So those will be taken into consideration when we do actually start doing streamed games using these Challenge of the Week lists. We do somewhat save them they're recorded. It's the internet, so they're always right there. Anyways,
maybe we should make a Challenge of the Week winners. where all the winners get posted, and then do like a purge on the Challenge of the Week channel every week.
That'd probably help out a lot.
That way, it would be pretty obvious. Like, all right, these are the rosters for like
Yeah.
this leg of the competition.
Okay, I can go back through. We can make like a channel that's like Challenge of the Week winners, and just like a list of rosters that nobody else can post in, and then like the other one is where people submit it, and then we just purge it every week. That's a good idea. And then people, again, don't forget to submit your Challenge of the Week rosters after this next one. We'll get to it eventually. And yeah, we're still deciding, hammering out the details. So let's go ahead and do that. Main topic. Wow,
it's gonna be us. It's gonna be y'all. It's gonna be one of us versus one of y'all, or something like that. We'll figure it out.
So I feel weird because we're only 6 minutes in and we're already at the main topic. Not a lot of announcements this time, but let's go ahead. So as you guys know, we're in the series of understanding crises. Why is there so many people looking at the show notes?
Oh.
Did I post it in the wrong channel? I don't think I did.
No,
I didn't. Maybe Hyper Viper's bored.
Oh.
He's just looking at it.
Maybe.
Okay. Anyways, I just saw like another person pop in on the Google Doc, and I was like, "What? What's happening here?" And I don't know who they are.
You have an anonymous moose.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who it is. Anyways, I guess I tracked it easily.
Quality content.
Let me change this timestamp real quick because I'm trying to upkeep this, and it's been a pain so far. All right, so main topic. So anyways, we've been going over the crises, and this one we're going to be talking about meteors. And so, Sam, do you want to go ahead and start with meteors and what you want to hit on? Let's just go ahead and get right into it.
All right, deadly meteors. My how many secures are there?
Oh, I forgot. Everybody, we have a new segment that we need to hit. I think we should do it now. So everybody, we decided that we're just gonna join everybody else, and we're gonna do hot takes just like everybody else. So here are our hot takes.
We did it. We have enough hot takes. We don't need any more. No more opinions, no more hot takes. We've heard them all. We've had enough. No more. Isn't it awesome? Everyone can just shut up now.
Perfectly
Hot take
balanced,
segment.
as all things should be.
Perfect. Okay, now we can start with the main subject. Hot takes are done, and we can move on to the main subject. Go ahead, Sam, as you were saying. Yeah.
All right, so deadly meteors, right? How many secures are there? 9, 10? That's like my 8th favorite. So deadly meteors, right?
Why don't you like meteors?
I do like meteors. I'm just joking around.
Oh, okay.
Just jokes. So deadly meteors. I actually really like deadly meteors in a few different affiliations, but that's not so much what we're here to talk about. Deadly meteors is a C shape. It's a flip secure, and so that means that you're scrumming over the center line, and that's kind of the lead-in for deadly meteors for me. It's unlike any other crisis in the core set, and that or at least any other secure, you don't have to stand on the point, right? So we were talking about flips versus stands last week, and this is a flip secure. So the idea is it's not so much that you have to stand there and babysit it. It's that maybe it's a little bit harder to capture away from you if you are babysitting it. And ultimately, it still kind of favors the last activation, like most secures do, because you can go in and with these, you can actually steal them out from underneath other people if you've got the right kind of assets on your team.
Absolutely. So general thoughts on meteors for me is I used to hate it because it's like it's one of those all or nothing, and we're gonna talk about the all or nothing later. But I hate the all or nothing.
Yeah.
I hate the fact that I take a damage if I roll a skull, no matter how good I roll it. So like,
yeah,
because a lot of people like you talk about like stacking your team to roll better dice, and then you're punished for it. I'm not a fan of that. But I also like over the past 6 months, maybe a little bit longer than that, I've grown a greater appreciation for meteors to where it's like this is like a scenario that people should be playing more. Even though the all or nothing can bite you, it's not very like one-sided. It's very back and forth in my experience, regardless of how you stack your team, and it's completely random. Like it's so hard to like Because you can just flub every single roll trying to take the one that you need. I hate it with Malekith, just because I don't want to pay to flip. And that's not what he wants to be doing. Exports, I love it, though, because I love Cs. And, like, yeah. Yeah, I think Meteors is great. I think people should be playing it more. Yeah.
I think that some people should be playing it more, and some teams should still try to avoid it like the plague to some extent. True. Like True. It's with those centerline Cs, right? So I mean, there really aren't that many of these centerline C scenarios that are actually also secures, right? There's a fair amount of extracts, but we got sword and intrusions that are the only like other C secures. I mean,
technically you have Fisk, and technically you have Terrigen.
Oh, sure. Yeah, those have just the corners though. Like I guess like those feel more like Infinity Formula to me more often than not.
Which is funny because you set them up on a C, but they have the columns. They have columns instead of the line. Because there's nothing in the middle. But those are different beasts. We'll get to those eventually.
Right. So I mean, even with this though, so that's getting into the how it compares with Sword, I guess. But with these 3 points across the middle, if you're going to contest, you are exposed, right? It's not like an E where you can just about stay on the back point of your home shelter or your home demon portal and you're probably fine. You're probably out of the fight. You're probably out of range. If anything's happening, you're maybe catching like one stray pot shot or some splash damage because you had somebody standing too close. But with these Cs, if you're contesting that point, you are exposed to the entire board. Yeah. Right? So it switches from corner to corner as the game goes on instead of deployment to deployment.
Yeah, I like it for attrition teams because the fact that like you're probably taking somebody who's going to be double tapping round one. Like maybe you have multiple people that are double tapping round one. Like maybe you have Mystique Deception, which if the person decides to go a little too far forward, you could just deception them off the point. Oh man, it's rough. From deployment. There's like a lot of stuff you could do from deployment on a C because of like how close it is. I want to say like a Cable definitely gets it, especially with Cat and Mouse. He's hitting whatever. There's a bunch of really neat nuances that you need to pay attention to. But let's go ahead and talk about. You talk about the flip, talk about the center. Share shape, sharing shape with ship. We don't have any boats in this.
The game. Alien ship and the scroll.
No, it's just Creekor. What do you?
Creekor, yeah.
Scroll, Senators, Intrusions, Sword, and Cure. So the biggest ones to think about is like the extracts because you have Creekor, Scroll, Senator, and Cure. That's quite a lot that share with C. So it's like if you get like double C, it's quite actually possible, especially with like how few extracts there are. So it's like it's very possible to run into just all C if you're taking yourself.
If you're bringing Meteors and like say like Intrusions or Sword or all three of those, like you're just about gonna guarantee a C shape in a lot of your games because those RNG extracts tend to crop up quite a lot. The singles, they're pretty popular. So are the Fs, and the Cure or Virus or whatever you want to call it is the last bone of contention so far as extracts are concerned.
Yeah.
If that thing goes away, we don't have anything else that's adventurous. They're all pretty much the same Z's, right? Because we've got 3 C's that have some level of randomness to them, and we've got the 2 F's, which are pretty straightforward. And then you've got Hammers and Researcher to be a little more fair, Montesi to be a little more fair. But then good old Legacy Virus.
Good old Legacy. The Cure. I don't know if it's the Cure for the meta, though. All right. Sharing types with Sword, Mutant Madmen, Spider Portals, and RNG. What we're talking about here is the pay to flips. You're trying to pay a power to flip something, and hopefully it works out for you because you're rolling dice. Yeah.
So that's one major difference between this one and say something like Sword, right? Yeah. Where with Sword, it's either a coin flip or it's yours for the power. But Deadly Meteors, Mutant Madman, and the Spider Portals are all roll dice and say your prayers because you really don't know what's going to happen on those. which is a double-edged sword. Because I mean, I think that knowing the math on that can be kind of important. So if you are a 3 dice defense rolling into a single body on a point, it's actually a 50-50. So it's the same as sword. If you're 1v1. The difference is that Deadly Meteors cares if you're injured or not. So it's a little bit of a, I don't know, maybe more of an attrition focus can happen on Deadly Meteors, especially since it's also dealing you damage, where a sword has a lot more of a control element with that push. This one's got every time you take a bite, you risk taking a damage. So that can be interesting. I lost a game by losing my Deadpool on a Deadly Meteors, and Bob was my last character on the board after that. But if I didn't flip the meteor, then I wasn't going to win anyway. So you had to go for it, right?
But you can at least blame Bob at least.
Yeah, it's definitely Bob's fault.
I think something we're talking about here though is like the whole like defense stacking thing, because like the other ones like Meat and Mad Men, you want to stack like, let me get as many 4 defenses that I can. I can't think what the other one is now. Spider
Portals.
Yeah,
Spider Portals. So I think Spider Portals is a little bit more about like quantity over quality. I think on Spider Portals you're spreading out the game board a lot more with that D shape, and so it's really more about, it's at least as much about bites at that apple as opposed to just trying to get a good quality. You know.
Well, I think that that's probably how I look at Meteors. Is I think you're better off with numbers instead of stacking 4 defense dice, because of the fact that you roll that skull, you're taking a damage. So like people say, like where Mad Men, you want to like stack your defense dice. Meteors, I think 3 is probably what you want. I don't think you want 4 energy defense dice. I mean, like even with 2, you're still not that far off from like a 50-50. I think it's like a 30, maybe 40%. I don't do dice math, so I don't really memorize these things.
It's like 16. It's low 60s, right?
Yeah,
so it's a low 60 for 3 energy dice versus just an uncontested point. You've got a low 60% chance to take that. Yeah, which isn't so bad. It's the same thing at 4 defense dice against a single person, and I don't even know it after that. Like I don't pay enough attention to it after that. Like, I'm a 12 and a half in my head when I need to.
I'm definitely a person that I like. Somebody starts talking dice math, and I'm like, cool, yeah, okay, that's good to know.
I'm glad you're here.
and then, I mean, I definitely think dice math is interesting, but it's like as soon as like it gets to the weeds of it, like you're still rolling dice. Like dice math really only goes as far as like a perfect roll goes. So like if you're looking at like TTS, and like sure, but when it comes,
but it doesn't matter, right? So like you're like you roll up with Toad, and you do the attack to push him off the point, and then you flub the roll, and you're like, well, okay, that was cool. Or you like roll up with your Enchantress, and you need to get 2 successes, and you're like, oh, look at that, I just got 2 successes on 2 dice. Yeah,
but it's like that's the thing though, is like I've had a game where someone's like, okay, well, dice math says this. Like, it's good on you for like knowing like the dice math. Like, I'm not gonna fault anybody for like knowing the dice math, but when it comes down to it, unless you're on TTS where the dice are like damn near perfect rolls to what it is. If anybody's curious, there is a chart that actually shows that like they did like 2 million rolls, and where the average out to like the percentages were like within like 0.% of like being accurate to what it should be.
Tenths and hundredths, and it was slightly more skulls and crits than like those are the ones that were like just a little bit weighted. So watch out, Malekith users. This is your time to shine.
I know, right? Maybe that's why I'm doing so good with him. When I take him in real life, it'll be terrible. Anyways, but like what I'm trying to get at though is like real life, like you have dice, and like somebody's having a conversation about this the other day in one of the Discords, where like dice like will be like have imperfections. They're made by humans. They're gonna be not like, or maybe by machines, but they're injected.
Yeah, they got the air bubbles, right? The air bubbles are in different spots, and so you never know what you're gonna get. So I have a bag of 50 dice that I take with me.
Oh, so you shuffle them out.
I constantly just like shuffle them in, shuffle them out. Like I always throw them back in the bag, and I give it like a good dipper dapper to get everything mixed back up.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I bought somebody's collection who was selling out. They had 2. I bought 2 because my wife and I were playing early on, and then one day I forgot my dice, and I was like, well, I guess one more pack would make an even 50. So let's do that.
That's fair. Yeah. So like But that's my point though. Is like you can't really. I don't like me personally. I don't like relying on dice math when it comes to things. I was like, all right, I have 7 attack dice. You got 3 defense dice. I probably do almost all your damage if I get lucky. I one shot you. Let's go for it.
Way. So my head dice math is usually like, all right, I'm rolling 8 dice. I'm gonna get 4. What happens when they roll 3 blocks on 3 dice? I do 1 damage. That sounds like a terrible turn for me. What else could I do instead?
Well, so what I do is, so like if I have, let's look at like Malekith real quick. Like Malekith is 7 dice, and he's hitting somebody with 3 energy defense. So I'm expecting Malekith to get 3.5 successes. I'm expecting my opponent to get 1.5 successes. I just take half, and then I round down because I round up for the opponent, down for me. That way it's more like expected outcome. So then like opponent, I'm expecting 2. Me, I'm expecting 3. But then I have the wild to take into account. So I count myself as 4 and my opponent as 1, which is like 3 damage. Plus a throw is 4 damage. So then that's why when people ask me like dice math, I typically say like, well, I'm looking at like on like a decent roll, I'm probably going to do 4 damage with Malekith against a 3 threat with 3 defense. No crazy defenses. And then, like, on the high end, who knows? He's just going to one-shot him. It's Malekith.
Sure.
But that's kind of like how my dice math works in my head. I forgot how we ended up here. Oh, yeah. So, like, when it comes to, like, meteors, rolling on meteors.
Yep.
Oh, man, I'm sorry, everybody. That was real good.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. So on meteors, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing I really use the dice math for on meteors or any other flip is just be like, is this a really terrible idea? Like, can I even succeed at this? And then is it like a 50-50, or is it better than that or worse than that? And that's kind of after that point, I'm not paying much attention to it.
That's kind of like where I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead with my 3 defense dice, and 3 is the magic number for meteors. Because once I have 4, I'm guaranteed to roll a skull. Like that's just how I look at it. I'm just like, if I'm rolling 4 dice on meteors, I'm gonna roll a skull. I'm gonna take that damage. Sorry, Storm.
Right. Yep.
That's just how I look at meteors rolling. But let's go ahead and move on to our discussion points. So we have another classic tangent adventure. I have timestamps too now, so everybody will be able to skip the tangent if they want. But I think that tangent was actually like rather good. Like I thought it was a worthwhile tangent. I'm not gonna put a timestamp for this one though. So. All right. Flip secure strategy. What is your flip secure strategy on meteors?
My flip secure strategy. So I think that there's like a few different approaches. I think that you can play meteors kind of like chess, where you fight over the middle, and then kind of be opportunistic from side to side, kind of try to go whichever side they're weaker. I think that there's something to claiming the point and then leaving a body standing there if you're not just going to like hang them out to dry early. And again, kind of like chess, if you don't put pressure on the middle directly, you can also decide to put pressure on the middle by pressuring either one side or both sides. And I think that, so for me, my cube strategy is I want to spend my lower energy defense personnel earlier and try to claim uncontested points. And if I have anybody that's a 4 or a 5, I guess it's just 4s for energy. I want to wait until I've got a good opportunity towards the later in the round and try to take something that has someone standing on it already, or just kind of try to guarantee a later flip or a flip back.
I think it depends on like what the extract it's paired with, but if it's like
always,
if it's like an F extract, or let's say I have somebody like Mystique, or a Bow, somebody who can like help me out if it's the solo. I really like running the 2. I'll either run like the 2 or the 2, like middle and right or middle and left, whichever one terrain is favoring to like my characters that I'm playing. And then if it's like a singleton extract, then I'll probably run columns, and then typically like run one side heavier than the other and then one side tankier than the other. That's kind of like how I list, kind of like my list anyways, kind of just shell out is they'll have like good characters that are tanky and some that are really good killy. So I'll run like super kill on one side, come up, try and do what I can, and then start just making my way in to the middle, and then hopefully it works out for me. And hopefully with that, I'm able to keep 2 out of the 3. I don't really ever go for 3 out of 3. I go for 2 out of the 3 because that's all you need. But sometimes you need that flex where somebody just like runs to the middle to flip it, which is always kind of nice about Meteors. Is you can always just like run to another one and flip. Like if you're a lawn mover, you can easily go from one to the next and flip 2 in one round if you're lucky with dice and have the power to.
Yeah, so I feel like sword on sword a lot, you wind up the game just turns into like, I don't know, like musical chairs or something. Where, like towards, if that game goes long, you get into, round 4, round 5, round 6, even on sword, you're spending more time running from end to end trying to flip the consoles and bring it back. Whereas with Deadly Meteors, it's a little bit more of a fight throughout the game. I think because of the skull damage and just that there's no push, right? So you're not trying to push people away. And get that pseudo stagger constantly. So I think that with Deadly Meteors, so I actually do try to get the third one. If I'm given an opportunity to claim the third console that's not going to weaken me at some other point, or at least I don't think it's going to at the time, I'll go and grab that thing. Because if you can win a side and then you wind up losing that point, or you just don't ever flip it, right? So if you manage to basically earn your point, chase them away, get them out of the way, but you don't flip it and move on, you've got a much more heated fight over those last 2, where usually if you can spend that one more person, now you can actually have your choice of where you're putting pressure on the other 2 if nobody can get to that last point.
Well, I think that's where it's like worthwhile to bring in like super mobile people, either lawn movers or something like that. Like recently, I added another lawn mover to my Malekith list and took out somebody, and oh my goodness, sword's actually pretty fun with it for Malekith, because I end up being able to keep close to like their priority, so I'm not really keeping priority. I'm doing the last activation, which is nice. And then I'm just like zipping around and flipping the swords. And Malekith is like, I'm just going to sit here and throw you. It was a super weird game. I ran a shadow, but I haven't ran into a person yet. But literally Malekith, I didn't daze anybody in the shadow, and Malekith's team won. Like it was like 16-2. And it was very interesting. Like Malekith, just like a scenario Malekith, like a pure scenario Malekith list. It was very weird. But it was fun.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
It was interesting. Anyways, before I get lost, center strategy. Yeah, it's just like sword. It's just like we kind of hit on it. We were talking about the C shapes in the center line. You have to be wary that your opponent has probably somebody who's going to double tap you. Your opponent has somebody who's going to bow you or deception you or anything like that. You need to be aware of those plays that go into you on those center strategies, that you're going to be reachable very easy.
Watch out for Thanos. Like center strategy is like the Thanos zone. Like if you are center line, Thanos can grab you, and you are going to be burger for Corvus to chew into.
Well, I think one of my favorites. I think one of my favorites thing to do is like have like if you have like I love doing this with like Daredevil rapid fire teams. Is because center line is going to be one medium move on a small base, and then you're range 3 away. You're going to be hitting that they're contesting. Because I love doing it with 23 also, where she just, no matter the cost, she does her thing, gets in, flips the point. All that type of stuff. But like rapid fire teams, it's insane, because if you have one spike, you're going to move, do 2 shots essentially, and that's pretty good. If anything, it weakens them for somebody else to come clean up, or you get lucky and you daze them round 1, and you're like, well, there I go. Now I have a power 4 all according to plan. It's great. Or he can just follow me. It's so silly. Anyways,
so you need tough bodies. You need tough bodies or disposable heroes, or you got to understand that you are really putting out a scapegoat to just get jumped on by everybody else. And if that model's tough enough or cheap enough that you don't mind them drawing that kind of heat on round 1, maybe it opens you up to take the outside and then push in like you were talking about. Excuse me. And so I think that's center strategy. Watch out. Careful.
All right, what do you got for interplay?
Interplay on this one, right? So I think the interplay on Deadly Meteors is really about that energy defense. Bringing higher energy defense is good because it's going to give you a higher percentage chance to flip. It's also going to give you a higher percentage chance to catch a skull and take a damage. And another thing to think about is that if you're bringing someone with high energy defense and an energy attack, your opponent is probably also bringing as many people with high energy defense as they can. So those energy attacks that you're used to getting some work done might not be quite as effective as they normally would.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a worthy point to talk about. I think another thing to talk about is typically the people with like higher energy defense are people that you don't see very often in the game.
Fair.
Let's think about that for a second.
So like Miss Marvel is a really interesting play on demons because she has a high energy defense with 4, but she also has a physical attack. So she's if you bring her
You said demons. You said demons. You meant meteors, right?
Oh, on Meteors,
okay.
yes.
Okay,
on
just want to make
Meteors,
sure.
Yeah. Whoops. Yeah. So physical attack though, and so now you're bringing someone who has good energy defense and is bringing an attack that isn't of the same type. So I think that's real interesting.
Yeah. What's another good key person who's high energy? I wouldn't count Storm because she's a leader. But if she wasn't a leader, she probably wouldn't be taking much unless you're playing Meteors.
Angela's pretty dumb. She can, late in the game, she can flip all 3 Meteors if she's standing on one of the corners in the right spot.
I mean, Hella's pretty good too. Hella's actually a good one.
Yeah, because they've got the stats. They've got the stats, and they've got the larger bases. And I mean, at least a medium move for Hella, long move for Angie. Like Angie can get all the way across. Hella can't quite get all the way across, but she can move between. She can. So a medium move does not actually get you where you need to be across the meteor gap. Long base medium move does. Yeah, it's just short.
I'm trying to think of like good examples with this, like just like those random characters that are out there, because we like talking about the unbeloved characters. Ant-Man and Wasp, not so much because that 2 energy defense. Yeah, they're fast and quick, but they don't like flipping meteors.
Yeah, Core Widow's the same. She's in the same kind of boat. Like she can hit all those points, but she's only rolling 2 dice.
Ronan.
Ronan
actually made me want to play meteors at one point because he's what 3-4-4, I think.
3-4-4. I think so.
Yeah.
He's at least 4 energy.
Yeah. But he's just super good. I think Ronan's another underrated character that people are starting to play again more, which is great. But he's great on meteors, to be honest. He's got that medium base, medium move. He pushes people, so he's a very good scenario player. I think people, if you're looking at meteors and you're throwing on your list, I think Ronan's a good look to for a 4 threat. All right.
Yeah. I mean, Ronan's a piece that I see as a tech piece. I think that he techs very well into some of the bigger boys because he's got that it's size 4 or size unlimited? Size 4. He's got size 4 throws and pushes. So that's pretty big.
Yeah, and then I keep telling people, like, if you're a Guardians player, you should probably have Ronan in your list, if not, like, to help deal with, like, the Malekith issue that people seem to have. Granted, Guardians mostly take Hulk, and Hulk is a really good counter for Malekith, for those of you who don't know.
Got some proof on our stream.
Oh, yeah. I played into DeLuca the other day, and, man, I just his Hulk just bullied the crap out of Malekith. It was rough. I was like, I can't do crap. But now that made me change my list slightly, and I'm better for it now. I think the list is much better positioned to handle a Hulk. And then I turned around and played Big Blake. At, I don't remember what day it was. I think it was yesterday morning. Is that yesterday or? Yeah, I think it was yesterday morning. I don't remember now. Anyways, one shot his Hulk. I felt so bad. I love talking with Big Blake. I love playing games against him. He's testing out Winter Guard. Super. Okay. He's really into Winter Guard right now, and he's going. He goes with Ursa, and Ursa. Anybody who's sleeping on Ursa, you need to play Ursa if you're playing Winter Guard because Ursa's actually a boss. Especially into Malekith teams. Anyways, he goes with Ursa, and he double moves, picks up the hammer on one side. And I'm like, oh,
okay.
Fancy this. This is interesting. Mystique, Deception, Loki, Activate, Bow, Hammer, Malekith, pick up hammer. Malekith, one hammer, charge Ursa, hits Ursa, cool. Then one round's Ursa, picks up his hammer. I have prio for the next round. Start with the next round with Hulk within charge distance. Dark Rain, cool. Smash, cool. Size 3 smash. Because like Loki paid for Dark Rain. Malekith dazing Ursa meant he had the power with the hammers to do smash and charge and have power for skulls. Because pay 4 for smash.
Combo.
Yeah. Rolled. What was it? +3/+2. So 12 dice
Pretty well,
builders. 12 dice builders into Hulk with Dark Rain. And then I was like, do I do another one with Pierce or do I just do 15 dice spender? And so I was like, screw it, we're gonna do the spender so that way I can get Malekith on the point. So I love the spender for teleporting. It's really good for getting that placement. But the builder attack it was like 12 damage. Like so 12 dice did 12 damage just because like creates skulls. It's Dark Rain. Like Dark Rain makes it that way.
No, it's
like,
true. It's true.
People take recal because recal makes Dark Rain sad. If somebody's looking for more Malekith tech, Dark Rain makes recal makes Dark Rain sad. But anyways, so 12 damage into Hulk. It's either 11 or 12, one or the other. And then I build her 15 dice, and it's like another freaking like 13 damage, and just completely one round Hulk. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I love Big Blake. Props to him for sticking out. I was like, I know this is probably over, but I'm gonna keep playing anyways. I'm like, good for you. Because it's round 2, Hulk is gone, just gone, and I'm just like, man, I feel so bad. And at least he wanted to keep playing, and he actually almost clutched it out. Like Winter Guards, like I think people are sleeping on Winter Guard. Like he's been putting in a lot of work, and both games I played against him, like they hold their own against Malekith, and that should be saying something. So if you're
tough.
Yeah,
he praised them a week, and they're all pretty thick.
Yeah. I think the final score ended like 16-12, and it was round 5. So he, after losing Hulk, was able to stick it out that long and almost come back. So that should be saying something about Winter Guard. I think people should be looking to them if they're looking for another team to play. But anyways,
were you guys playing on Deadly Meteors?
Sorry, we were not playing on Deadly Meteors.
That's fine. It's a fun story though.
It was hammers and intrusions, so a C shape.
Okay.
And the C shape, if it was Meteors, I think it would have actually been better for him, to be completely honest, because you're having that pay to flips, and I'm not wanting to pay to flip, especially when I'm running Loki and Mal and all that. So Meteors is actually pretty good in the Malekith. If you can find yourself a good way to get Meteors in your list, Malekith doesn't actually want to play it, even though the center line's right there. I don't think he wants to play pay to flip. All right, so skull damage. Skull damage.
Yeah,
you're gonna
so
hit
skull
him.
damage. Is this the only? No, this isn't the only. There's what? This Crisis and then Terrigen and Fisk all deal damage to you.
Seals.
Yeah, Seals. Yeah, okay. But Seals is by choice. Like you're like, I'm gonna see what happens. Seals is a really Seals or intrusions or whatever we call it. Like I'm really enjoying that scenario, but I don't know if I'm gonna bring it as much as I have been. I brought it with Convocation, and I thought it was really fun. I especially enjoyed it in my Convocation that was intrusions, seals, and demons, and then the 3 singletons for extracts, because then it was like I just knew that we were gonna go on the center line, most likely on the center line, and then just being able to move around without worrying about extracts, right? Because I guess I played into a lot of singletons. My first 3 league games, first four league games were all on Alien Ship.
Jesus.
So, yeah, good times. But anyway, skull damage, right? Oh, I guess the core damages you. Alien Ship damages you too if you don't attack.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just being aware and just plan like you're gonna roll a skull every time you go to roll. Because if you start thinking, I'm not gonna roll a skull, the chances are too low, then you're gonna start hurting yourself way too much, and it's gonna impact you way too much. So just think on it that every time you roll on the scenario, you're gonna roll a skull, unless you absolutely have to. Like if you have like 1 health left with the Deadpool, and it's either gonna win the game or lose the game, then you might as well, right?
Might as well.
All right, you want to go into... Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
One more thing on the skull damage. So like skull damage, so some of the affiliations I think are good on meteors. Like one of them is Asgard. I think Asgard is good on deadly meteors because they have a predominance of decent to high energy defense. Right, Thor and Angela both have 4s, and on top of that, the leadership lets you heal chip damage. Right, so taking the skull damage in Asgard, not as big a deal as it is other places, especially now that healing's as limited as it is. And then on the other side of that, I think that X-Men, who are also pretty good on deadly meteors, have a similar advantage. Not so much because they have the extra dice or leadership, but because they've got some healing factor characters that can interact with it and take that skull damage and move on.
Yeah, I was... I lost it. Go on.
That's all. No, just skull damage isn't as bad if you have a way to mitigate it. I definitely think that you should expect it. And if you're bringing people who have 4 dice, you have like a 50% chance of rolling a skull. So, like, it's going to happen. Just plan on it happening more often than not, at least.
Cool. Aggro playstyle. We kind of hit on this quite a bit already. Is like if you're playing, I love this for aggro teams. I love it for X-Force. You like it for I almost said Brotherhood, Black Order. Like the more I think about it, I kind of like it for Malekith, even though it is a pay to flip. But I also don't at the same time. Like his leadership heals the damage. He likes the person being on the center of the map, which he loves. But it's just the pay to flip. He doesn't want to be spending his power on the objective. He doesn't have to. He's great at generating power, but he just wants all of his power for skulls to make his consistency there. Because as soon as his consistency is not there, that's when he whiffs. Like if he's got 0 power on him, that's when he's gonna whiff, and he rolls like 5 skulls and can't do nothing about it.
Oh yeah, of course. So I mean, one of the things that I think with all of these crises, right? So like one of the goals of this, series is to put out there that you can kind of use the core crises to figure out what your roster is good at. And another thing about crisis, and deciding which crises to bring with your roster to an event or, just at the game night or, in your theory craft or whatever it is, right? Like it's an incremental advantage or disadvantage more often than not. It's very rare that like, you're just like, like my team is just absolutely crap at this scenario. I can't play it. Right? Like I cannot field a squad from my roster that's decent on this scenario. That's pretty rare. But there are tons of this is better than this one is better than this one is worse than this one. It's very incremental, right? So when we did the Black Order piece and wrote through basically like all of our crises from the perspective of Black Order, Deadly Meteors was the only flip secure that was on the list as like, this is not a hard pass. Like you can actually consider this. You don't have enough bodies to really make it work, but at the same time, it's not as bad as any of the other flips. And if you're worried about something else in your meta that, is going to be better than you at say like Gamma, then, you could look at this as a backup plan. Yeah. So I think that for the most part, attrition teams don't necessarily want to play on Deadly Meteors, but a lot of good attrition teams can still hang on it.
I think it's usually like the attrition teams, other than probably X-Force, even though I don't know, like I call X-Force aggro, not attrition. But same. But I think they love to play on it, but I don't know if they necessarily take it because they love the fact that you're coming to them. They love the fact that you're shortening the distance. Unlike a B, I'm gonna have to go here and waste time and do this, and I'm not gonna be able to get an easy roll or an early start on my attrition game. Versus a C, you can absolutely get an easy early start on your attrition game.
I think so. I think that and there's damage that's happening right with the skull damage, so it's got a little bit of that. You're whittling down your opponents as the game goes along. Yeah. So this one and cubes are ones where it's like sometimes I'll let people kind of like take. I'll seed the victory points in the hope that they get the damage, right? Or in this case, like I'll flip something that I know that they can flip back just so they have to take another bite at it, and maybe they roll a skull and I get a free damage on them.
Yeah. All right. Dice mods. What do you want to say about that? Yeah.
Well, I guess so we have like Heimdall. Heimdall is now like there's now a way to modify your dice when you roll on scenario, and for the most part, nobody's dice mods work on the scenario effects, but Heimdall's got his cool little
except
reroll
for
ability.
Corvus Reality Gem. Well, Reality Gem,
Yep.
not Corvus, but
Right.
I actually just thought of something. I'm gonna have to put this on the forums. Heimdall rerolling on a scenario. Can you reroll a skull on that?
I wouldn't think so. I
don't
the
think so
skull
either.
fail is like a rule book interaction.
Well, I'm just curious if like the skull fail on a crisis versus a skull roll on an attack. I don't know if it's like specifically under attacking. You know what I mean?
I don't think so. I think it's just a dice face.
Okay.
But it's forum worthy. Throw it up
I don't.
there.
I just don't remember. It probably is like it's a fail, but I just started thinking of like, can Heimdall reroll skulls?
Yeah, it's under dice in the rule book.
Okay, yeah, so
it's,
absolutely can't.
Yeah.
Sad.
Page 7, dice, skull, failure. Failures can't be rerolled or modified.
Okay.
Period.
Yeah.
Done.
It'd be nice if like you could for like scenarios. That'd be super clutch. And then we have all or nothing. So that's the biggest thing about this one.
Yeah.
Is you're either going to be getting 3 and plus your extracts, or you're getting just your extracts. It's very, very it's going to be either really, really fast game or a very back and forth game, or I guess that's pretty much your 2 options, because scoring 3 and your opponent not scoring that 3 is huge.
Yeah. So one of the worst games of Crisis Protocol is Deadly Meteors and a Singleton extract, where you cannot get your hands on the Singleton to score, and your opponent is flipping the Meteors every turn because you can't win that game in 5 rounds. It takes 6 to win. So you get to lose 20-0 instead of 15-0, right? So it takes it right up to the wire, and then it's over, and you got absolutely shut out. It's not a very, like, you can have incredible games, right? But man, those scoreboards look real bad. 20-0 is a real bad look. Hurts.
Yeah.
Hurts too. Can confirm.
All right.
So with all or nothing, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a major factor on choosing your prioritization between the secure versus the extract and how to get your points. So on something like cubes, it means that if you're going up 4-1, you have achieved parity if you've given up the Deadly Meteor. If you're going 3-2, then you're actually losing 5-3 on the extract to start the game. And when we talked about sword kind of in an earlier episode, just kind of randomly, I had mentioned that I feel like you have 3 turns to solve sword. You still have that same clock for Deadly Meteors. You have basically 3 turns to figure out what you're going to do with the meteors, because if you're going to give up 9 points, which means that your opponent is, if you went up 3-2 on, say, cubes or spider infected, right, your opponent is at 15 points at that point, and you have got to figure out how you're going to just completely ice them out for the rest of the game. So at 3 turns, it's probably too far in that kind of a scenario. You've got to get a handle on either the extracts or the secures at that point, or you're really behind the 8 ball. So you got like two turns to really figure out what you want to do, and then you've got to make it happen starting from turn 3 on, or that's a real tight game, tighter than anybody wants.
Mm-hmm. All right, is there anything else you want to touch on for Meteors?
Legacy virus, maybe. So if you do the math for legacy virus, right? So this is a C and a C. So one of the things that I think that is one of those decision points in Crisis Protocol that people don't necessarily give the weight that it deserves is, if you walk up onto a point and you have to prioritize a secure versus an extract, what do you pick? Which one do you think is more important?
Depends on overall potential.
Always. So I think that this is the same kind of a situation. So if there are 3 viruses and there are 3, meteors to interact with, or 3 sword consoles, you need to make a decision between whether or not you're going to try to get the 3 points that are the consoles, or the 3 points that are the cures. And if you think about it, if you go one cure and the Meteors, and they get 2 cures, then they're scoring 2 points, 4 points, 6 points, 8 points. And over that same time, right, you have actually scored out. So if you give up the Meteors one time, they can actually virus cure out. But if you hold the Meteors every single time in one virus, you can actually maintain through round 4, and you should be able to win. So these all or nothings also have this added element of being able to shut down a virus game in some situations. So if you don't like that virus game where they just grab viruses, try to convert, score out, these all or nothings can help you keep that game in your favor. That's all.
That's an interesting one. All right. We have sales pitch of the week next, Sam. Oh, you said you want to do the combo
All
for
right.
this, right?
I think that we should do a product comparison
Okay.
for the sales pitch this week.
All right, we were trying to figure out who Sam was going to do, and he brought up Enchantress, and I told him he should do Sinister, because I don't think we've done Sinister yet. If we have done Sinister, I'm sorry, but we're doing him again, because Sinister is life right now for me.
I think so, and I literally just cut Sinister from the roster that he was spending the most time in for me because I wanted to see other people. So.
That's fair. All right, so we're going to do a comparison between the two because they're both really, really good, doing very similar things.
Yes.
One, Enchantress. I don't have the cards in front of me, do you? Do you have the...
I don't. I can pull them up. So, I mean, in essence, they both tax, right?
Yeah.
Because Enchantress has an early tax in the game, and Sinister has a root that he can throw out onto people.
That's fair. I love the Sinister root. It's so good. Okay, so I have Sinister up. If you want to pull Enchantress up, because she's your girl.
Yeah.
And plus, I painted Sinister, and I love playing him now because he's just super pretty, and he looks really good. All right, so Sinister, 6 health on the front side, medium move, medium base, size 3, 4 threat, 3/3/4, range 3, energy strike for 5, gains power to damage dealt. Pay 1, beam 4, mystic, 5 dice, gain the sample token, and then the spender that nobody ever remembers. 6 power, range, however many tokens you have, and then on a crit, wild, and hit, each enemy character within the range of attack suffers 1. Basically, it's Carnage's thing he has on his spender, but it's on 6 dice, which is why it's like it's maybe.
Area 3.
You could have an area 3. I don't think I've ever pulled it off. I've like lined up to pull it off and it didn't work. Okay, so that's his stats.
6 power is a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's like a lot of times you'd rather just spend your power to bow and then like root everybody and then do your beam again.
Yeah.
And then be healthy. Like it's I don't know. I don't know how I feel about his spender. Like it's not bad, but I like most of the time I want to bow, do his builder, and then do his beam. That's like his activation for me, and then root people.
I like it. Sinister needs power from somewhere. He either needs to be taking damage or he needs to be popping off his strike. He needs to get power from somewhere. I was running him in Asgard. I liked him a lot there. He was fun, but he came with his whatever his sampling tactics card is was feeling sort of taxing on my hand, and I was already running Enchantress because she's Asgard affiliated, and as much as I enjoyed the Enchantress and Sinister and Loki basically kind of triple downing on the tax effect on my team, ultimately Sinister got the axe from me because I had Enchantress there and I wasn't running either one of them on flips. But she has a lot more. She has similar abilities, right? She's a 2/5, and you only get to roll your 5 mystic if people don't pay 2 power to come and get her.
Oh yeah.
By turn 3 or 4, everyone has enough power to do that, and she melts very quickly, which is, in my opinion, the opposite of how Sinister functions. Whereby, if you've managed to keep him healthy to that point, he is finally online, and he's ready to just dominate through the middle game.
Yeah, I've had games that go to round 6, and he's had 0 damage on him. Like, it's nuts. Yeah, it's because I had healing going on, so he's getting healed, and then his damage reduction. He's like, all right, you just threw a size 4 into me. I rolled 1 block. I rolled 2 blocks. I used my 3 tokens. I take no damage from your size 4 throw. Get wrecked. Like, his damage reduction tokens are so good because if you think about it, like if he has damage reduction 3 on his healthy side, he's essentially 9 health. Like, you have to chew through 9 health and his defense dice at that point. His defense dice, they're average, but like the damage reduction makes it so good. And I 100% think he is 100% more survivable throughout the game than Enchantress is. Because like you said, typically by round 3, like she's in a tough spot and somebody's gunning for her. So like I think that is
whoever she messed with last turn on turn 2, like like they are just ready to end her. She's also really bad into Juggernaut. Like, oh my goodness, Juggernaut was the reason why I stopped running Enchantress for a little while. When I first started playing some Convocation, she was in those early Convocation rosters I was running, and I was playing into a Magneto Brotherhood list like constantly, and Juggernaut would just come and just ruin my day. Like he just like rolls up on her and he's like, "Hey, I just made some power when I walked up to you, so I'm gonna spend that power to bring your defenses down, and then I'm gonna one-shot you. Are you ready? Get ready, because here it comes."
Fair enough.
I like how Sinister and so I like how you can use his sample tokens kind of like at your they're at your disposal. You get to choose when you use them. You have the agency. It's not like you have to spend them first. Because I've had times where people rolled up to me and they did a builder into him, and it was like, okay, I'm gonna take that damage, and now let's do, all right, and now you've got to do like, sorry, use a spender into him and take that damage, and then they got to do a builder to do something else, and you're like, all right, now I'm gonna spend my sample tokens down, and prevent them from gaining that power, which couples really nicely with the root.
Absolutely.
Managing a second economy is hard.
You're not wrong. I would say though, I think I rate Sinister honestly higher than Enchantress because right now like survivability is the name of the game. And not only that, but he's slightly more mobile because the medium move. Not by much, but he still is more mobile. And then being able to root, like the fact that he could, if he has enough tokens, root 3 people a turn. Plus, actually, he could essentially root the whole entire team if he had enough power. Like you just dazed him. Okay, I do 3 roots. I beam. Cool. I got 3 more tokens. I do 3 more roots. Like he could root your opponent's entire team if he has the power and the tokens to do so. And roots an underrated condition, in my opinion.
It is. Root's a really powerful addition, right? It's what on Groot and Mr. Sinister, Cassandra Nova, and Carnage has a card for it.
Yeah.
That's basically it. So Root's pretty rare. It's really annoying when you can stack it with other taxing effects, whether that's like a playstyle where you're limiting attacks and power generation that way and not actually doing a lot of your own attacks. You're playing kind of a harder control with some Roots. Or if you are just kind of like one of the strategies I used to use with Black Order a lot was I would basically not do any damage until I was sure that I could just daze you in one turn, so that I knew that you wouldn't have any power to spend until you got glutted, and then hopefully I was gonna do that thing that everybody hates, where you daze a model and then you get to go first, and then you remove that model from the table.
Oof.
What is it that Chick said on the episode about dependable vehicles? Like sometimes you just need a dependable ride. Like Mr. Sinister is a pretty dependable ride. Like his dice aren't necessarily dependable.
Except for when it comes to power. So I think this is where Enchantress beats him out. Is like she gains 2. That means she always is gonna have bow online unless she's like poisoned or stunned.
Yep.
So it's like it makes it to where what you're bringing them for is like typically that bow. I bring Sinister for a survivable piece. So if we were looking within affiliation, I think you're like, obviously, I'm going to, like Asgard, I'm taking Enchantress because of this. However, you could take both, like you talked about, and get like some interesting things going on. You have double bow mechanics. If you're taking Loki, that's triple bow mechanics. Like that's oof. Yep. But in Cabal, like, you have the choice of Enchantress or Sinister. And Sinister has always kind of just been like shoved to the side. Like, if you were looking at it today, you're playing Cabal, who would you take, Sinister or Enchantress? If you have 1 slot left in your list.
Whew. Man, so they have a lot in common. They have a lot of really crappy stuff in common. By really crappy, I mean like stuff that's
They both have pros and
suboptimal,
cons.
right? Like,
Yeah, like
hyperbole, right? So like, I don't love 4 threats that have 5 health on their backside.
yep.
They both have 5 health on their backside.
But Sinister has damage
He's
reduction.
far more survivable. That's right. Yeah, because by the time she's flipped, because going back to the old Juggernaut reference, right? So then when we start the next turn and he has priority, he's got a fully powered up Juggernaut to just punch her one more time and she's gone. And she's real sad. Sinister might live through that. But he's got to get those sample tokens up, which means you're probably sacrificing stuff on turn 1, whereas Enchantress is turn 1 playing. Well, you can't bow and
you absolutely can under Malekith.
Well, I mean, if you're getting those early dases.
So
sure things. I like sure things. I like to count on sure things.
You're not wrong. Like you're not wrong. Thing. But
what happens when you get paired double hulks and you can't daze it?
You can't daze somebody. 3. That's fair.
And then
fair
you're
enough.
so flustered you flick the trigger.
That is fair. That's fair. I can take that one for $1. But like, so like that's the thing though, is like if you're looking at Sinister versus Enchantress, like I think the game right now, like you want somebody that's long game survivable, because if the game goes long, you want that person who can potentially still be healthy.
Yeah.
Because that could be huge. Like they can go run and flip points for you, and Sinister being the medium base means he's more mobile. He's staying around to that late game on his healthy side. And then next thing you know, he just flipped 2 points because he has that big base. And Enchantress, could she do that? No, because she's too busy bowing and dying by the time it's round 5.
She spends all of her power every turn until she hits a critical mass at some point where she's just full of power, which also, makes her a really good follow me battery. So if you're telling me that I have to choose between Enchantress and Sinister for my Cabal roster, I'm going to look over and I'm going to look for my Loki slot and I'm going to find somebody else to cut so that I can run all 3 of them with Malekith at 19 just for the funs of it.
That's fair.
But I think that they've got to play. I think they have play as a trio, in all honesty.
That's fair. I don't know who won this one. Let's go ahead and put a poll up in the Discord and let the listeners vote. Who's next? maybe this is what our sales pitch of the week is going to turn into. Rap battles of history. Let's do it. I'm going to put the poll.
I don't know. I think that they're a really interesting pairing to look at so far as 2 different characters that they share a lot of similar qualities. They both have this kind of tax mechanic aspect to them. They both have a bow. Right. So for anybody out there, a bow effect comes from Bow to the Will of MODOK. It is something that players who have played this game since MODOK was a new character tend to just refer to abilities like Such Fun Little Playthings and Siren's Call as bow or bow effects. But it's the ability to advance a character, typically short.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got that posted up. Next, we're gonna go ahead. That was fun. I like that. Maybe we should do this for sales pitch. We pick 2 and 2 similar models and put them against each other. I'm Team Sinister. I don't care. I think Team Sinister all the way. People can play Enchantress.
What can I say?
Fair. 60. Oh, I can't do math. 64. Hobby Corner / Challenge of the Week. Okay, Hobby Corner. Don't forget, Accountability Club is active. If you want to join Accountability Club, don't forget to go to the Welcome section and click on the role to gain it and read the primer and all that and figure out what's going on. Don't forget, you must submit a goal if you don't want to be shamed.
8 days. 8 days to get a goal posted.
Can you answer me a question real quick? I saw some things in the Accountability Club throughout today and yesterday. Our rules are kind of loose when it comes to what your goal can be. Because all it says is a hobby goal. Can people who are doing a podcast, YouTube content, it's still MCP related, but some sort of hobby goal that is related to the game, does that count for Accountability Club?
I think that if you need to use Accountability Club to keep yourself accountable, then you're using Accountability Club for the right purpose. So if that's what you need, I'm going to accept it. It's going to be kind of weird. You'll definitely be on the shame list if your content if you content fail on me. But like I said, to your own quality and standards, state your own goal. So my preference would be that we keep this as more of a hobbying and painting club, as in, focused on creation of pieces for the game. But I mean, whatever. If I can help somebody live their best life, I'm all in for it.
All right, there you go. Was it Shadow Marvel? I think he was asking. And well, I mean,
Shadow Marvel needs
to
to like glue things with Elmer's glue or something this month. Which is fine. That's fine. Hey, whatever you got to do. I would maybe try to buy some plastic glue, but
yeah,
you do you. And I guess Barncat needs some help getting motivated to make content or something. So go for it. We're here for you.
Cool. All right, that's gonna be it. Don't forget to get your goals in. I can't wait to see all the Malachus.
Oh man, it's gonna be a busy week next week.
Okay. Challenge of the week. We're gonna do an interesting one this time. It's gonna be wider is better. Make a list trying to go as wide as you can without using a 3-cost leader.
Ooh. Wow.
So I started thinking, let's do a wide one, and then I was thinking about it. I was like, everybody's gonna do X-Men and Guardians, and that's gonna be it, and Sam. So I was like, let's make it interesting.
Do you have to be affiliated?
Yeah, you have.
So when you say don't use
no, you don't have to be. You don't have to be affiliated.
Don't use a 3-cost leader.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can be unaffiliated.
So I just bring all the 2s and a pair of 3s, and
yeah. Just no 3-cost leaders in the lineup.
All right. Nice.
All right.
That's a cool challenge.
Yeah. And then we have our listener questions.
Close it out.
Closing it out. We have Ronald the McDonald. What are you guys drinking? Oh, sorry, Ronald the Accuser. I put McDonald because it's been a running joke. So Ronald the Accuser. What are you guys drinking during the episode? I drink like 7 of these every day, and that's why you could tell during like the end of the episode I start getting really fidgety if you're watching on the Twitch stream. Because like right now I really have to use the bathroom. So yeah, that is a thing. So I drink water. I just drink water. I don't really drink very often, but when I do, I have a really good time. What about you, Sam?
This week I'm drinking Depth Perception by Terrapin Brewery. I usually have beer on the episodes. When we did the interview, I was drinking like LaCroix on ice, and then last week I think I was drinking Captain and Coke. Not Captain and Cokes, slightly fancier rum than that, but just a rum and Coke.
That's fair. All right.
That's why I get happy at the end of the episodes.
And you get more laughy. All right. Hebinator, what are the most common core mechanics / rules you see people get wrong? And he's meaning straight up rulebook rules, not character interactions or something like that. Like, what is like rulebook rules that you see get wrong? And I'm gonna be right back. Go ahead and talk.
Oh, all right. So I guess one thing that I feel like I'm spoiled on from TTS is movement accuracy. So one of the things that gets to me is I really don't like it when I see space between somebody's movement tool and their model at the start of the end of their move. Like that to me is like, you just got to snap that stuff in, make sure it's touching, lay that movement stick out, and then when you put that model down at the end, it should be touching something on the stick. To continue with movement things, I would say throws and pushes are effectively like set that stick somewhere, and then you move down the center of that line until you hit something or you reach the end of the tool. So I've seen some Juggernaut play where I'm just going to push and then I'm going to stop right here. You don't get to do that. You have to push all the way to the end, and those tools got to be straight. Placement, if you're using a range 2 place, so this is another one where you're trying to use basically like the center of that range 2 all the way to the center of that range 2. I would encourage you more often than not to just use the edge. So find the position on the tool and set it up so you've got the edge sitting on there, and then move it up so it's edge to edge. But on all of those placements and movements, there shouldn't be any space between your model and the tool, right? So I know that sometimes it's fun and it's easy to get excited and you just throw that tool out there and then move the model somewhere close to the end of it. but things are supposed to be touching. I would appreciate if you would make them touch. Sorry, we just covered some throws and pushings and placements. Welcome back.
For me, it's probably going to be proper power gains and when to gain power off of damage.
Yeah,
because I think honestly, like that was like one of the hardest concepts when I first got into the game was understanding, do I gain power off a throw? And this is back when we were using like you'd like message like the AMG like messenger to try and get rules. We didn't have a forum back then. I talked back then like it was forever ago. It was like what 2.5 years ago, 3 years, whatever.
Year and a half.
Now.
Year and a half, 2 years ago.
Is it a year?
Like when I started it, that's what.
Yeah. But I think like
this like pandemic life and the accelerated league schedule makes it feel like it's been multiple years.
We're 8 seasons in.
Woo!
But yeah, like I think that's probably one of the biggest ones that I see most commonly done wrong is power gain, because like it says, oh, you gain power off of an enemy effect. Well, what is considered an enemy effect? Lately, it's not as bad. There's been more clarity on like enemy effect. Like you get thrown, both people gain a power because they were damaged by the throw, which is the enemy effect. And now you have tactics cards that are doing damage, which is an enemy effect. So you're getting power off of that. You have damage from attacks that you're doing. But then you have something like, oh, do I gain power when I take damage from the scenario? Well, that depends. Does the card say you gain power for the damage off of this? Like cubes, you gain it. You take a damage, you get a power. But that's not an enemy effect. It's just a special rule on the crisis card itself. So I think that's probably my biggest one for
bleed.
Not bleed. Bleed. I was dealt bleed by my enemy. How is this not an enemy effect?
It's an enemy effect, right? It's not. It's not an enemy effect.
It is not an enemy effect at that point.
Yeah. So on that note, right, you've also got like the during the power phase and the cleanup phase. The first thing that happens is you gain power in the power phase. The first thing that happens in the cleanup phase is you score victory points.
Yep.
But that is not the end of it, right? There's also more. So then it's player effects, neutral effects, crisis effects, right? So those the ordering of that can actually be incredibly important. Dormammu's leadership and cube damage is another one of those. It's like if you play that wrong, you might be taking extra damage from Dormammu's power.
As well as all according to plan, you can't use crisis power to do that. Yeah, so timing charts is huge. Like understanding rerolls. Like I keep telling people that just start rolling their dice when I'm attacking them with Malekith. I'm like, please, like, let me feel better about myself and don't roll your dice until after I decide if I'm paying for crits or not.
Right.
Because for those of you who don't know, it is player A will be the person attacking with Malekith or Domino, and player B will be the defender. Player A declares an attack. Player A rolls their dice. Player A looks at their dice and sees what they have. Player A pays for skulls, and they can overpay, they can underpay, or not, I guess not underpay, but they can overpay if they want. They could pay however many they want. They could be like, oh, I want to get rid of a bunch of power because Ghost Rider's about to go and penance stare me. So anyways, he can pay as much as he wants, and then at that point, you're free to roll your dice if you want to jump the gun. But anyways, then at that point, it's supposed to be player A rolls their critical successes, and at that point is when it shifts to player B. They roll their initial defense dice, they roll for their criticals, they pay if they have like Domino or Malekith themselves, and then they see what they have, and then it's player A modifies, player B modifies, player A modifies, player B modifies. But the biggest thing is like the timing of when to roll the dice. If you roll your dice on defense against Malekith before he's decided, or whoever the person playing Malekith has decided on if they're going to pay for crits, you're basically giving them perfect information instead of making them maybe have to pay over the power that was needed. Like if I go and I roll 7 hits, or I roll like 4 hits and I only need to do like 3 damage, and I'm like, oh, they're probably gonna get like 2 blocks. I'm gonna pay 2 skulls just in case. And then you go and like you already rolled your dice and you rolled 0 blocks. It's like, oh, I didn't have to pay anything. But if you give them that perfect information, it helps them out a lot. So understanding your timing charts is huge. Sorry, I'm a little long-winded.
Yeah. No, Loki versus Domino is a really interesting matchup for that. So if you've got a Loki and a Domino that are going at it, where Loki's got Like both of their abilities basically let them look at their opponent's dice on defense with perfect knowledge and decide how much of that they want to use, right? Because like Dizzard just explained, if you got the crits coming in at you, I've got to roll my dice, I've got to, you know, spend my power, roll in all my crits. Like, you know exactly what's coming at you when you roll your initial first 3 dice with Domino and make that decision. Or you also have a window to do I'm a God with Loki after you've seen your opponent's dice before you roll your own. So those are big moments.
All right.
So the timing chart. Know it. Learn it. Love it.
I still don't know it. I still mess it up all the time. Anytime somebody asks a timing question, I'm like, I answer it, and then I see Nagoldar like typing in Discord. I'm like, God, what did I get wrong this time? What did I do this time? And then he says it's 14C.
14B.
Yeah, and I'm just like, of course it is.
It's always 14B.
It's always 14B. All right. Next question from Heavenator. Just finished Shang-Chi and started thinking, if you could make a 2-threat Trevor from MCU, what powers would you give him? So I saw this question, and I've seen Shang-Chi, but I don't remember who Trevor is.
Who is Trevor? I don't even have the same problem.
Like, I read the question, I was like, who is Trevor? Shang-Chi.
Oh, he's the actor. He's the actor from he's Iron Man. He's the guy who's not Mandarin.
Oh,
from Iron Man 2.
That's right, because at the end of the movie, he's like,
stealth.
I'm Trevor. That's right. I remember now.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got to have stealth.
Stealth.
He's got to have like an enchantress, like kind of like tax ability.
No. Give him shapeshifter like Mystique.
Shapeshifter like Mystique. Okay. What if he had like stealth like the enchantress tax though? Yeah. So like he has stealth unless you pay 2. He loses stealth.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so let's do but instead of calling it shapeshifter, just call it something like a super fancy name actor, like he's a super exemplary actor of some kind. That's
there you go. Perfect.
I wouldn't say master of disguise.
Award-winning actor.
Award-winning actor. There you go. Award-winning actor. Mystique's shapeshifter ability. You got to give him like less than Wong's punch, like maybe like a range 1-2 dice punch.
What if you did like Wong's punch, but it can only do a max of 1 damage? Like, so it's like as bad as Wong's punch, but then it's got Shuri's like downgrade to it.
Okay.
Even more.
There we go.
So he's never doing more than 1.
And it's just a gainer. It's a pure gainer. And then he
or is it damage equal to power?
No, it's just a gainer.
Power equal to damage.
And then he's got to have some sort of super like broken superpower that he uses, like pay 3 power and maybe like everybody around you runs, like they have to like move, like everybody has to move range small because he's a coward.
Just push, yeah, like he just pushes everyone away from him.
Yeah, like give him Midnight Dance Party like that. And so here it is.
Right before he dies.
Tactics card for him. Pay 3 power. Everybody within range 3, he pushes short, and he gets to make a short advance, and he heals.
Oh my gosh, power creep. That's too much.
But he's a coward, and he just runs and hides. It's perfect. It's thematic. All right. I think we did that one good enough. All right, so we saved this question from last week. I think we have enough time to actually answer it this time. We're not going to go too in-depth, but we can hit some highlights of it. All right, Mathematic. I'd love some discussion and tips about activation order. What characters are naturally better at early versus late, when to prio and injured, but lower than threat character who may get KO'd and not get to use that power versus a higher threat character, etc. Basically, I think this really just comes down to like your activation priority. Like not priority in the essence of the game, but like priority of like who's like gonna get stuff done that you need to get done at this moment versus target priority. I think those two are like the big like considerations when it comes to this type of question. So like I have a character, let's say I have I ran into this other game. A game I had the other day. I had Loki who was sitting on 4 out of 5 health. And I have another character who's at like full health and doesn't have a whole lot of power. Loki's sitting loaded on power, but he's like way off in the corner, but he's also within range to die. Like he's within range of being KO'd, but he has 4 out of 5.
Okay.
So my situation was, okay, if I don't go with Loki, he's probably going to die. However, Loki has Trickster, which means he can also back away at that moment and get out of range. So this is like an easy one because like Loki's like, okay, I'm just going to Trickster if he gets attacked. So, but like the consideration comes into like, what is the value that I'm going to get out of these activations and what value is more important to me? Loki's activation, all he's going to be doing is coming back into the game. And then like, the other person's activation, which I can't remember, is potentially daze somebody, flip a point, and potentially grab an extract. That's way bigger impact on the game. So I think the biggest thought process that comes across for me about what to activate is which character of yours is going to have the biggest impact of the game at this moment of the game. This comes back to one of our early episodes where we talked about constantly reevaluating board state. Is if you're doing that, you're going to know which character... Okay, I need to go with this person now because they're going to have the most impact on what is happening on the game versus this person who's about to die because they're going to have the least impact on the board state. Or it's, I need to go with this person who's about to die because they can have a big impact on the game at this point and they're about to die. So like I think that's what comes into play is what is the impact and impact on board state that you can get that at that it kind of directs your activation order.
I want to know what I get from my injured character getting KO'd. Because if I'm going to get priority out of it and that's something I need, I'm perfectly happy to let that happen. Or to dangle that out as bait and see what my opponent does with it. It depends on the importance of the character you're activating. I 100% agree with that. The impact on the game, whether they're going to have an outsized impact early or if, you know, leaving someone low on health as a kind of a sacrificial lamb might be better. It's honestly, it's one of the great questions. who should I go with first? And I think that when you've got a model that you need to get to safety, or like they're glutted with power and low on health, and if they don't activate early, they're not going to get an opportunity to activate late. Like those are definitely models that I want to give a really hard look at for whether or not they're my first activation. Or, you know, my next activation.
Yep. Also, I think it comes down to, has that character, like, have you gotten that use out of that character this game? Like, if it's like a round 2 and I'm about to get a Loki KO'd, I'm going to do what I can to save him because he has not had the impact of the game that I require for that 4-threat character or even 5-threat character. Versus it being round 5, he might die. I have the potential to trickster and get away. I'm gonna risk it and go with somebody else who's gonna have more impact on the current board state. So I think it also depends on like what state of the game it's in and like what have you gotten out of that character to make it worth 4-threat. Could he have a bigger impact later in the game? Like currently, Loki's a great example because it's like he's easy to kill.
Oh yes.
But he's so useful on his backside by like not letting your opponent count crits and the bubble. So it's kind of like. I think it's round 2. He's on his backside already. Like, why don't I just move Loki out, or I bow somebody away, do something that impacts game state, grab an extract and run away, do something like that. Make sure I leave myself on power to trickster. I think that's like important. Is like what time of game it is. Like if it's round 2 and I'm about to lose somebody who's not earned their threat yet, I'm gonna keep try and go with them to keep them alive.
That's a huge item. I said it, you know, somewhat facetiously, but the priority question is a material factor for me in that kind of a situation. Because I talked about how poorly I tend to imagine my dice going when I'm in those moments, and I'm like, all right, if I get, you know, average dice or slightly worse than average dice, and they get, you know, above average dice, what am I doing here? If I've got a character that can give me priority or do, you know, 1 or 2 damage in a situation, I'm definitely gonna offer that trade to my opponent.
Yeah. Also, do you have follow me in your tactics card lineup? Because could you do both?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, follow me is a huge consideration right now.
Yeah.
Right, because there's a lot of conversation about follow me, a lot of chatter about that over the past couple of weeks, and you whether or not it should be restricted or this or that. I think that Follow Me is a really interesting card when it comes to activation order. I had a fantastic game the other night where I got to go with a glutted enchantress who followed me into Loki, who jumped across the board through an intrusion and sibling rivalry into a loot cage, and it felt really, really cinematic and cool and fun, and it actually got the job done for me as well. So I mean, that's the kind of stuff where if you can manufacture big turns, right? And so like, not only did I manage to go with 2 characters, I still didn't get priority the next turn, but it didn't really matter.
Yeah.
So
I think that covers it pretty good. What do you think?
I think that's one of the great questions. So it's hard to give a really specific answer. I mean,
like, we could talk for hours on this.
Right? Characters that are naturally better at early versus late. I would say that early activations in the early game is different than early activations in the mid to late game. So like early activations early, I'm looking for models that I can durable with, or like score points that aren't going to, get me in trouble with my opponent later. So like Angela is an amazing model to activate early in the early rounds to try and get stuff done. She's not so much a great model for the later rounds.
I think,
or I should say like later activations, because she has no control. I think you want control for later activations, and you want punch or mobility for early activations.
Yeah,
durability too.
I think another thing worth mentioning is control characters. I think control characters early game go early, and then late game they go late. I guess they're kind of a mid activation, like mid turn activation a lot of times. Like set up your big hitter. And then like also early game, your big hitter typically goes last, and then as the rounds progress, they're like, I want to go first and make some action. I like stalling activations for my first couple rounds, like for like Skull. Skull's great at being a staller because I'm gonna teleport this person up, and I'm gonna go sit over here and sit on a point. I did absolutely nothing to progress the game state, and my opponent doesn't have any questions to answer. And it puts my opponent on the proactive side and me on the reactive side, which I prefer personally because I like doing the whole reactive thing. Like, I'm gonna go here because you did this, and I'm gonna punish you for it. Playing reactive is just fun. And then proactive, you're just throwing all your cards out there, and you're hoping it goes well for you.
Support actions do a really good job of being kind of dead activations. If you run a support character or two, like Wong is, another one where you're just like, oh, I'm just going to gain a power or two and maybe move up here. Okay, I'm done.
Or somebody like Mystique, where she could just double move, grab a point, and then sit there and hold deception to like line something else up later. She's a good one to go early.
Somebody like Black Cat is another one where unless you are, running all of the tech to do a first turn steal on something, that's a major part of your own strategy. She's somebody that you can get her into position over round 1 and round 2. It's kind of a dead activation or a stall activation, either early or in the middle of everything. Yeah. Just get her to where you want her to be so she can do something next turn.
And then like late, I think Hulk is a great example of somebody who wants to go late, because most people are not going to one round a Hulk. And so he's not going to be dying. And then he has so much control that he could just like change the board state out completely. So you're not afraid to get him in there.
Gamma Leap.
Yeah.
Yep. Gamma Leap, strike, throw. Like, he can displace 3 models. He's healthy until he dies too. So I mean, that's huge.
Absolutely. All right. I think we're good here. What do you think?
All right. Seems all right with me.
All right. All right, so thanks everybody for coming by and hanging out with us, everybody in the Twitch chat. Remember, you can catch the videos on YouTube if you want to watch us sit here and kind of stare off into space and see what we drink and all that. But yeah, don't forget to come check out the Discord. Links will be in the description, all that nonsense. And we have been the Rogue Agents, and you have been the listener.
See you later.
Perfectly balanced.
See ya.
As all things should be.
Maximum effort. In this war, there's no surrender. He's out of line.